Can I get an honest appraisal from all people involved on, and no sugarcoating? How does everyone feel about Trista's dog, Ollie, being here? Pretty non-obtrusive, like compared to all the other dogs.
Couldn't wait a second before you started some shit.
I mean, I like dogs, I guess, but I like my dogs, you know?
So I feel that way when people show you pictures of their kids.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how people feel about kids. They like their kids. They don't want to hear your stories about your kids. But I tend to love all dogs, especially dogs, though, that are this non-obtrusive. I'm the one who allowed the dogs in the office, and there have only been a couple of complaints. It's Amin mostly, right? Amin is the one who complains the most about dogs in the workplace, and he believes it makes it a hostile work environment for him. But what is the appraisal from everyone here? Do we know if anyone here has any objections that they have shared about Ollie? Because Ollie seems lovely.
Your first words. I mean,
It's remarkable.
oh my God, your first words trying to get people in the office
And
to
I was
fight.
worried you might miss a step coming back.
Unreal.
We have a guest in this week, Trista. It's like, someone say something bad about Trista.
I'm
What
not
are you
saying
doing?
I'm not saying for anyone to say anything
But the
bad
dog
about
climbing all
Tristy.
over you before the show. Do you like that?
I'm
That's weird, right?
not what I said. I didn't say any of that. You guys are putting all these words in my mouth. I'm pretty good with words. The words that come out of my mouth, I'm generally aware of what they are, what they should be.
So for
Are
the
you
record,
an inflammatory guy by nature?
yes. I mean, look at him.
I just want
He's inflamed.
I just want honesty. I want honesty in the workplace.
You're like that little girl where she's smiling and the whole house is on fire behind her. That's you.
Juju always gives it to me straight. Juju, what is the appraisal here? Have you heard anything? What kind of feelings have you gotten from the room in general about the appearance of Ollie the dog?
Silence works typically in an audio format.
In
especially-
Ju's defense, he
Yeah.
pressed on. It wasn't his
but
problem.
is a fader down? That's usually where I would look first. If someone speaks and the microphone's on and the fader's down on the board, there's probably no. You look like you're all over it.
All right,
The
I'm
fader's
glad-
up.
All right, good start.
So Juju's not going to be able to speak for the whole show, or what?
Basketball is back, Jack. Time for our favorite winter sport. The summertime is over, so let's head down to the court. Time for the tip-off. Give me fast breaks on the attack. Will you shoot a three or take it to the rack? Basketball is back, Jack. It's a dream shake down in the post, or a killer cross you love the most. When the offense tries to run and gun, is it man to man or box and one? It's big plays and talking smack. That's how you know that basketball is back, Jack. Let me hear you say basketball, basketball, basketball. Basketball is back, Jack. 360 dunks and pick and rolls. And we're gonna watch it every day till they raise the Larry O. Hard fouls and hook shots. A dagger three and hack a shack. If you say this game's the best, I'll say it's a gag. Basketball is back, Jack. Basketball is back, Jack. Basketball is back. Basketball is back, Jack.
So I go away for a few minutes, and we're at war with Iran. Stephen Hawking is in the Epstein files with photographs. The U.S. hockey team has given up all of its goodwill in 5 minutes. Ruben Bain's arms are too short. Tyler Van Dyke's career is over as a quarterback. What else did I miss? What else do you guys have for me that changed while I was gone for a week.
You were gone for a week. Are you just going to list everything? Like, things happen.
I know things happen, but these are some substantive things that have happened. I
Yeah.
appreciate the appraisal that things happen, but I didn't have Ruben Bain's arms being too short. Like, they were the same size.
didn't?
They were the same size all of last season, is what I'm saying. I saw him in the backfield all the time with those short arms, and they didn't get any shorter.
You wouldn't put them as too short, but you would put them in the same tier as that's as big a story as war with Iran.
Yeah, all of that is in the same class of stuff. I put all of that in the same place, especially Tyler Van Dyke's career being over. He went straight to coach. When I saw SMU gets new assistant, former University of Miami quarterback, I thought it was Ken Dorsey. Like, I didn't think it was going to be Tyler Van Dyke.
They actually have De'Ara King on staff as well over there, too. Tyler started a game for Wisconsin against Alabama, was actually moving the ball quite well against them in his first drive, and then he just totally tore up his knee, and you thought, okay, this will be the standard ACL thing. And then photos came out of his knee and recovery, and it looked jacked up. Like, I know they usually say Tyler Van Dyke had a successful surgery. His knee looked bad. There were photos of him smoking cigars from the SMU locker room after they had defeated Miami last year, and it looked pretty jarring. So I'm not surprised that his career is over. He was basically on the staff as a coach in uniform for them.
I imagine you guys talked plenty about everything that happened with the U.S. hockey team, but how are you guys feeling about Inter Miami going to the White House? Because now Inter Miami is going to do that, right? Lionel Messi gets knocked down on the court, or on the pitch, I should say, in Puerto Rico, and now they're headed. These things cannot be done quietly anymore. They're not just photo ops anymore. It's side taking now is what it is, where it is that for the U.S. Olympic hockey team to do something it hasn't done in nearly half a century, and I remember what it was like the last time they did it, and to give the goodwill away that quickly, it's rare that I've ever seen a sports team of any kind do that. Give away that kind of goodwill, the best goodwill, patriotism. It's the easiest goodwill in sports. The easiest. Everybody, no matter how they feel about the flag, they can wrap themselves in it because something silly happens in sport. Now, Inter Miami, your champion here locally. You've got the Panthers are finished. That's a quiet end to a two-time championship reign. The Heat are arguing with former legends. Dwayne and Bam are arguing about whether they are or aren't a play-in team.
They are.
Thank you, Trista.
Technically for now.
They are, and they have been the last couple of seasons, but they're Dwayne and Bam are arguing about it. Bam is saying that Khalil Ware doesn't listen to Spo, but he does listen to me. That's something that just happened.
Yep.
That's strange, is it not? Do you guys want to see Ware playing with Bam? Like, if Ware doesn't play, they're not very good, like statistically.
I like the idea of Ware playing next to Bam, especially when Bam comes out and says that Ware listens to him. So I like that dynamic. If Bam is supposed to be a leader, he is the captain. I like the idea that they're next to each other if Ware listens to him. Also, I saw Barry Jackson put out this number a couple days ago that when Kelly Ware plays less than 15 minutes a game, the Heat, at least at that point, were 1-9 on the season. My God.
I thought it was worse than that. I thought it was like 1-15. But let's get Bam. I thought this was interesting from Bam. I was surprised by it, right? Because Bam is being unfiltered honest here. I don't generally find Bam to be that interesting, but I thought all of this was hugely interesting. He usually doesn't say publicly interesting things, but listen to what he has to say here about playing with Khalil Ware.
But he wants to learn. He wants to figure it out. And, for Spo, man, you just got to give him the opportunity to make mistakes. Now, sometimes the mistakes be crazy. But as you can see, he's a talent, man. He can get a double-double with his eyes closed. And when you have that type of talent and he's activated, he doesn't do anything but help our defense, help our offense. And big fella can make plays.
He also said he doesn't listen to Spo. He listens to me. Like that sound's not there, but I was surprised to hear that sound. I go to the workouts with him at 6 a.m. What is that? Saying out loud, I don't listen to Spo, or he doesn't listen to Spo, he listens to me.
I think it means that Spo is really tough on him. Probably the same way that he was really tough on Bam, 7-8 years ago.
Spo's been talking smack about Khalil Ware since Summer League. Khalil's first Summer League, and just burying him over and over and over again. At a certain point, I think talents need to be led in different ways, and Spo does not care. He is going to continue to give Khalil tough love. And Khalil went to Oregon, transferred out of there because he didn't want Dana Altman in his ear. So this is not new, I think, for Khalil.
Well, I remember the very first time I ever spoke to Spo as the head coach. What he made clear right away is I do not care if the players like me. It's no part of my job description. Do the players like me? However, when I hear the leader of this team, for better or worse, that's the leader. It's not Tyler Hero. The leader on the court of this team is Bam Adebayo. When I hear him say flatly, young player doesn't listen to coach, I've never heard a Heat player say it about their coach. And I don't think that's good. Like, I don't think there's a way to frame any of what's happening between Spo and Khalil Ware. She could file it under tough love. That's the most generous assessment. But if he's tuning out tough love, then it stops being love and it's just tough.
Is him not listening to Spo, is Bam saying that as something that, does that make Spo look bad or does that make Ware look bad?
I think it makes Spo look bad. Honestly, at a certain point, you have to change the way that you coach. If somebody is tuning you out and it's a talent who is to the point where Bam is saying, this guy makes plays. Yeah, the mistakes he makes sometimes are crazy, but he's a young player. He's very talented. He has all the tools. He's a 7-footer who can do all these different things. It behooves Spo to adapt to a certain point if you want to get the best out of your talent. When he's listening to Bam Adebayo more than the coach, I think that's a bad sign.
So this is an interesting thing that she's bringing up here because I have talked to people who are now in their 50s in charge of things, and they don't understand how the young people in meetings are always in their phones. The young people, when you're having meetings about important things, they have no reference point for these people who are 30 years younger than me. They're in their phones, and their choice is to either ban it and lose them or adapt. And I think most people listening to this are probably saying, Spo doesn't need to adapt. Khalil Ware needs to learn. The entire pressure of the entire system is falling on Khalil Ware to get better, no matter whether the environment is supportive or not. But the best executives I know say to their young people, hey, look, I understand that things have changed. I'm not going to do a hard and fast rule on your phones, but please, in these instances, be paying attention. I need you to adhere to the general outline of some rules that I'm going to change a little bit for you, but I don't see why and how Spo would change. Why would he? There's nothing in the culture of what the Miami Heat are that would suggest to Spo that he has to change, except that they're just a play-in team all the time, and he kind of needs that player to be great if the architecture of this team is going to be such that they're not going to get him better players.
Right. First of all, Spo, what have you done for me lately? I don't see no rings on them fingers lately. At the same time, I think he should take the advice and the example from how Steve Kerr handled Kuminga. Because Kuminga is good enough. If you put him in the right system, as you see, he's good enough if you're willing to work with him. Your irresponsibility and just trying to work with the young gentleman, I think is kind of wrong if I was on Spo.
Can't there be an argument made that they've handled him exactly right this season because he's gotten better and better, and now the minutes alongside Bam are productive? He was struggling so much defensively in those matchups with Bam because he was shot block chasing, and now those times where they're out there together over the last 4 or 5 games they played together, they're plus 80 when they're on the floor together in limited minutes. So while I understand, Khalil has been frustrated, there's also an argument to be made that they have handled him the right way because he has only improved in the ways they've needed.
Well, he's not being handled the right way if he's not listening to his coach. If I've got Bam saying out loud, he doesn't listen to Spo.
He said, I want big fella out there. I feel like he listens to me, and sometimes he kind of ignores Spo. I've banked so much equity with him throughout the summer. And then he later on says, I feel like he gets better when he's out there with me.
These are semantics here. Jim.
Yeah, right. Well, but I think I'm going to take the opposite side of the semantics than it sounds like you are. It feels a little bit like a throwaway line, to be perfectly honest, what Bam is saying there. Does he not listen to his coach sometimes? Definitely. I think it's why he slipped in the draft, and he's such an incredible talent. There was a reputation that he had when he was in school, and I didn't even know the part that Trista just said about Oregon, okay? So clearly there was a reputation with the player. Kind of feels a little bit like a throwaway line from Bam.
he's never offered that in the way of a throwaway line before, and I've never heard someone say that about someone who's coaching the Heat before. Like, going back to Kevin Lockery, I've never heard it say, he sometimes ignores the coach, especially a player who's sitting there fighting for minutes.
Well, but I think while maybe it wasn't said out loud, I think we can all agree Hassan Whiteside was likely not listening to Spo all the time.
Okay, and Bam didn't say so.
Right. Well, but maybe he's got more tenure
It was understood.
now.
It was understood.
Yeah, it was
we
definitely understood.
all understood that he wasn't
Yeah.
listening to Spo. I want to get Mike's reaction to this Barry Jackson tweet right here. Spo said recently the Heat is simply better than its record. Riley said the Cavs playoff series isn't reflective of what this roster is. For several years, key Heat people have felt the roster is superior to the record. One reason they've stuck with it. Wins like this against Houston and this season versus OKC, Denver, 2 versus the Knicks versus Detroit fuel the continued internal belief in this roster.
I have no doubt that the Miami Heat believe in themselves. No doubt whatsoever. And I have no doubt that it will play out the way that it has recently, in which they're wrong about the roster construction, and they'll try to get an impact player outside of the lottery, and we'll swing for the fences yet again in the offseason. And hopefully this time, like we've been saying far too often recently, hopefully this time they'll get it right.
See, that's the kind of stuff that bothers me, is that, sourced quote. Because, man, back in the day, the Heat have a bad loss. Team looks like it's not a championship caliber team. And Pat Riley goes in his office. He trades everybody. It's like, this is not acceptable. Okay.
Right.
And now it's, for the 4th year in a row, we're going to be a playing team, but we think we're better than our record is. And like that's not Pat Riley.
That's
What's
an old
happened?
man getting soft in his old years.
What happened?
I'm just listening to some of the same stuff that we're never really talking about. Man, Khalil Ware was outstanding last night. Usually all our Khalil Ware conversations are like, hopefully this guy can put it together. That's how I know about Khalil Ware, because I haven't really watched much of him, because I'm not watching much Miami basketball these days, because I don't think the team's got a chance in hell.
Everyone can see it, though, Mike. When he's out there, everyone can see both sides of it, the extremes,
Right. Well,
that he's a unicorn athletically, and he does a lot of dumb stuff.
Right.
Well, that's Kuminga. That's the same situation as Juju was saying about Kuminga, and now we see him thriving in his role, where you've got Dominique Wilkins screaming on the broadcast like, thank you, Warriors, for gifting us this unique talent. And I'm going to tell you this, I wouldn't be surprised if this happened with Khalil Ware and he thrives somewhere else.
I'm surprised it didn't happen, which is, I hear this, I'm like, that should have been Phoenix's problem. It should have been Milwaukee's problem. It's not. I mean, Eric Spoelstra is one of the greatest coaches of all time. When it comes to Khalil Ware, I'll side with him on how to manage this talent.
You look back at this and wish that they traded Ware for Durant?
Yes, I do. I mean, I was saying that. Yeah, I'm not as bullish on Ware. I understand why there are aspects to his game that you're like, man, if this guy can put it all together. But there are guys like that in the league. Look, if there was ever an instance for Miami to kind of change its ways and adapt to a certain talent, that Michael Beasley had a lot of tools. Michael Beasley is a tremendous scorer. They had him number 2. They did the rare thing where they try to lose intentionally for a shot at him, and they capitulated on that too. So I don't see like Khalil Ware's like ceiling being like that kind of level. I just thought he would be a piece, and I wish that they would develop him a little bit more. And quite honestly, maybe stop dragging his name through the mud so his value can kind of stay high.
There you go.
Because like, look, you cite Kuminga. There wasn't much of a market for him, and the player had talent, and he probably should have fetched more than what he got, given what we've seen recently, and he didn't because they mismanaged that, just like the Miami Heat recently mismanaged the Jimmy Butler situation. So my trust in them to be able to maximize the assets that they do have on the roster is kind of waning.
Let me ask you this, though, as it relates to the things that Zaz is pointing out about Pat Riley and his age, and what we're talking about is the multi-generational gulf between Pat Riley and players who are 20 years old and Spo and players who are 20 years old, because Spo doesn't get to be the young person anymore. The leaders of this team are young people. It's not Khalil Ware young, but does Tyler Hero look to you in any way like something that represents Pat Riley? Is there anything that Tyler Hero is giving off to you that suggests to you that Pat Riley understands load management and understands players not playing all 82 games and is just looking at Tyler Hero and saying, yeah, that looks like Magic and Kareem to me. That looks like Larry Bird to me. Let's listen to Tyler Hero here talking about the back and forth with Kevin Durant where they were just calling each other names during the game.
Nothing crazy. I know Kev a little bit. Just competing. I feel like as a team we didn't have an edge to us in Milwaukee or Philly, so I was just trying to bring a little edge to it.
Did you feel like it worked?
I mean, we won. The team responded. So we were down 14-4 at the time, I believe. Was able to just get some fire going. I feel like we're at our best when we got guys in here that are on edge.
I think that's stuff that you have to say 60 games into a season, that you're going to win some of these home games when Houston is tired and traveling all over the place. Oh, Jeremy, yes, give me faces after you said you were going to sit it out after their 2 losses, and now you've got a lot of opinions.
You know what you did last week.
Yeah, I know what I
Please,
did,
give me a lot of
and I lied.
opinions.
I lied. This team is number 1 in the East in points per game. They're number 1 in the East in defensive rating. They're number 1 in the East in rebounding. And
Aren't
that's
they better?
because you have been able to spread out the minutes between Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo. Now, while the 2 guys play together, you're playing really well, which unlocks a different level of ceiling for these guys because you can have Bam roam on the wing. You have Andrew Wiggins playing the best season of his entire career, and he was locked down over that stretch on Saturday. This team has potential to be better than what their record says there is, and I think it would be wrong to just dismiss it because we're talking about quotes from Spo on Bam from a month, or on Khalil from a month ago, rather than what he's been talking about lately, which is that effort is there. The going and getting rebounds is there. Playing on the defensive end and having awareness and communicating in the zone is there. This team is playing better.
Okay, but potential to be better than their record is, what does that even mean? So they're going to face Detroit in the first round of the playoffs. How do you think that's going to go?
They're going to get smacked. That's what I told Jeremy before we
Detroit.
started this show. And by the way, Detroit has the number 1 defensive rating in the East, not the Miami Heat. Not the Miami Heat. But it's a rating off. I just want to be accurate because Jeremy is an accuracy guy.
He says things.
So I just don't think that this means anything. You take the Heat, who are basically the play-in team. Talk about Draymond is like, oh, it's the Golden State Warriors Invitational. That's what the Miami Heat should say about the play-in tournament.
And you'd also know the thing about the old days is them the old days, bruh. Welcome to the new century. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you, Juju. In this new century, I didn't realize that there is an ability to unlock a new level of ceiling.
Is there multiple stories in this house?
I want to explore this a little bit.
The ceiling when Khalil Ware doesn't play alongside Bam is different than the ceiling when he does play alongside Bam. I don't think that that's a crazy thing to say.
It's not a crazy thing to say, but you know what's crazy is we all think, and Spo keeps saying, nah. Like that part is a little confusing to me. We're all like, yeah, this seems easy. Why don't they do this? In the last 2 regular season games where they play together, they outscore people by 66 when those 2 giant people are out there together. But the coach keeps saying, nah, I'm good. I'm all right. I want to keep motivating him to be better. I think that part's weird. I think we're not going to trade him under any circumstances, but also not going to play him very much. It's like, what are we doing? How is it possible that I'm sitting here, okay, and I'm listening to Tristan Juju say, yeah, Spo's got it wrong. Spo knows less than us. And I'm like, I don't think that's right. I think he's got more information than we do, and I think he probably knows a little bit about what he's doing, and I think maybe there's something here we're not understanding.
Is Khalil Ware worth any of this? And I include the 20 minutes we've discussed.
They could have had Kevin Durant for him and decided not to trade for Kevin Durant because they wanted to keep him. So they think so, but they don't play him.
Right. So clearly they were wrong about that in the offseason, which means that goes back to the original point.
I don't think they were
it's
wrong.
not even like the superstars that they're missing out on. It's guys that can help your roster and just dig yourself out of this weird purgatory that Miami finds itself in. They'll play hard. There'll be a couple moments in the season where Jeremy thinks we can win the East, and we'll get into the play-in, and hell, we might even get into the playoff. And then what happened last year? They got swept in historic fashion in the biggest beatdown in NBA first-round history, and I think that's kind of their fate here. We know that they're not good enough. We know that they're not going to be bad enough, and we're just going to keep with this plan, and hopefully we can get the whale in the offseason. Rinse, repeat.
What I remember about the last postseason is that is where Zaz got a job with us, because it started not with the historic beatdown by Cleveland that represents a greater beatdown than any that there's been in the playoffs, and the last one was by 60. I think the last game they lost by 60 and just started their vacation. But right before that, they beat Atlanta in a game that ended up with Zaz securing this particular job.
And Pearl Jam tickets.
But the thing that I want to get to that Jeremy just did there, and I don't know if he's trying to trick me or he's trying to trick himself. I don't know what he's doing, because it's one thing to say last week after they lose 2 in a row that he's not talking about him anymore, and then they beat Houston at home, and he's like, they're back in the game. Yeah, that's right. No, but this is what I want to know. When you say, because Trista corrected you on the defensive rating, but when you say they're number one in points scored and you're using that bogus stat of points when their pace is faster than everyone and they're about 14, 15, or 16 in offensive efficiency, you know better about which number to use. Why are you using points instead of efficiency? Is it to trick me or is it to trick yourself?
It's to trick you, and the pace being number one is maybe more noteworthy.
Yeah, but I can't trust you on any stat now.
Because that's what has
15th in
changed
offensive
this
rating.
team from last season.
What a
right?
liar you've turned into.
Number one in points, 5th in defensive rating. They know how to slow down overall. They know how to slow down other teams. They rebound as well as
All right,
anybody in the
Pinocchio.
conference. I'm just telling you, like, those underlying numbers, when you ask why do they believe
Lying
those
numbers.
things, that's why. Because you could see a team that's different in terms of what it was from last year. I'm not saying the result is going to be any different. They might lose in the first round, but it's a different roster in terms of who's playing. It's a different structure in terms of the way that they play offense. It's a different team, and everybody wanted this overhaul. They acquired an all-star guard, and they're playing things differently. It is what it is.
You say it is what it is, but I think one of the things that always gets lost in the discussions about these teams, going back to even LeBron, Dwayne, and Bosh, Spo's whole thing is defense. It's not offense. His whole thing is defense. And Bam and Ware out there together harm them defensively, and Hero being out there with them harms them defensively. Like he doesn't care about anything else. He doesn't care if they go out there and they go 0 for 20 for 3 as long as they're spacing the floor, because all he cares about is, are we playing hard defense? Because it's one of the only things he can control and make better than other teams. How hard are we playing on defense?
We've had, in the history of this show, stretches with very middling teams. Panthers perpetually 5 points out of the final playoff spot. Miami Hurricanes, this is going to be the year, and then they'll lose like 3 ACC games. Miami Dolphins, we've been doing that one for a couple of years. And with all those teams, you usually have the point to go, including the Marlins, whenever like they do their peaks and valleys thing. You could always go to the front office. The manager's got to go. GM's got to go. They got to shake things up. That conversation never surrounds the Miami Heat, ever. We are never saying anything like, has Spo lost his touch? I mean, not being able to like develop and reach this young man, usually that falls on a coach. Not here. Like you made the point, but no one's saying like, well, should we consider shaking things up over here? Like they keep telling us that they want to get a superstar. They keep failing. Should we get somebody in there that is good at this, that's better at this? Never a conversation around the Miami Heat. I understand why, but us as content creators, I do find them being such a challenge to talk about locally, because the top line of this franchise, totally off limits in terms of holding accountable.
There's only one other time I've seen it happen, and it's when Shula was doing all the winning, and none of this engulfs Shula until Jimmy Johnson's available. So unless you're going to show me future Pop out there, unless you've got something out there where people are looking at it and saying that's available. Oh, is Brad Stevens available? Can we get him? Like, unless you're saying there's a guy. The only time it ever happened to Shula was not only that Jimmy Johnson was available, but Jimmy Johnson was sitting there in the keys saying, that's the job I want. I'd like to have that job. And then all of a sudden you can turn it over. That's in the history of South Florida sports. There's never this kind of stability. And I do think that Zaz and everyone in here would acknowledge that while Juju and Trista are comfortable saying, yeah, Spo's probably got this one wrong, nobody's saying Spo should be fired. Like, no one's going to say that. There's no one in this market who's going to say out loud, get this group of people out there.
But there is an embarrassing moment, though, that I can point to. Chris and Jeremy attended the event. Pat Riley was like, I got the harpoons. I got the whales.
Can't talk a big game like
Someone's
that.
watching the whales.
I got a guy. I tell him to
Goofy.
get it, and he gets it. And he didn't.
So it's just
It was a rough look.
your grandpa yammering.
I mean,
at
that
the,
was
at the Thanksgiving
when he
dinner
did
table?
that night. I was like, that's either going to age fantastically or horribly, and we see how it aged.
I mean, look, usually to get drastic change in approach because we keep batting our head against the wall, thinking that we're going to expect something different. And look, maybe on the 8th time we bat our head against the wall, a Giannis Antetokounmpo will appear on this roster. But usually to get the kind of change that we kind of want to see, we have proven commodities here. And I don't know if the answer lies in them. Now, I'm not saying fire Spo, and I'm not saying Pat Riley. I think both those guys, lifetime contracts here. I understand I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit. But inside that room, maybe Nick Harrison gets a little bit more power. Maybe we say, you know what? This isn't going to go the way that you want it.
Well,
Pat.
but what makes
this
you-
isn't
what-
going to go the way that you want it.
What
So
makes
we're
you
going to
think-
think different?
What makes you think that's not already so? Nick Garrison is Pat Riley's boss.
that
That's
is it,
not
yeah.
something that people know, but it's so. It's been so since the beginning.
Well, the reason why I don't think it's so in that it's that we've just continued to tread water. I haven't seen the drastic thing that really surprises me out of this. In fact, every season for the last 4 seasons, I've been able to kind of accurately forecast how it's going to go.
Can you imagine Nick Harrison, former ball boy, firing Pat Riley? Like, could you imagine Pat Riley getting anything other than how he wants to go out, period?
Well, I will respond to your question with another question. Can you respond? Can you really wrap your head around Pat Riley ending his time down here with a 6-year whimper of not being able to deliver as superstar? While he does the post-season press conference and he goes up to Chris Cody saying, I got the harpoons. We've been doing this every year now, and it's starting to sound borderline kooky when you keep failing.
Well, but this is the thing, though. I'm going to move off of this subject, but you saying 6 years of failure when there are 2 finals appearances in there is not 6 years of failure.
Look,
it's just not.
We brokered a peace deal. You no longer get to mention the NBA Finals against the Denver Nuggets, and I will not mention that Cooper Flagg was taken with our draft pick. Like, let's rule that that's been a wash.
No,
because
I'm
like you
not
can
gonna-
have that
I'm-
as an example of it working out, and I got a very shiny, more recent example of tanking.
I'm
working.
such bullshit.
I'm not going to ignore 2 finals appearances in 6 years when it's something that I can't even say of Denver.
Thank you.
Who's got the best player in the world, and they haven't been to 2 of them
You're
in
welcome.
the last
They
6
have a
years.
championship.
Yeah, they got
and
the championship.
Miami does not.
They got the championship, and you'd have ruled out. We've all put
No.
the Dallas Mavericks in our rearview mirror, and they were at an NBA Finals far more recently.
That might be Pat Riley's standard. You either win the championship or it's failure. It's not my standard. My standard is not second place is a failure. My standard is not I'm better than all of the teams but one, and therefore I'm a failure.
What is Pat Riley's standard?
That's the standard.
What-
It's winning
is
or
it?
misery. No, I just said that's Pat Riley's standard. He put it there for you. It's why it's your standard. It's not my standard. I'm not going to say 2 finals appearances in 6 years is a failure. When's the last time Sacramento was in the finals? When was the last time Atlanta was in the finals?
It's funny that you mentioned the NBA Finals
Don't go there.
appearance because they also made that from a play-in. The standard here, as it has been, even with that Finals run, has been play-in, and that's okay.
The last few years, play-in is where it has been, and I will grant you that it tricked them when they beat Giannis into believing it a little bit more, the same way that it tricked them the last year of Dion Waiters and Hassan Whiteside, that they went 33-13 down the stretch and then re-signed Dion Waiters and Hassan Whiteside because they thought they had to run that back because they had a good second half of a season.
gummies.
If you're not first, you're last, Dano. Remember that.
This is a bit exasperating to me because I would just ask all of you, like seriously, if you finished second place competing against the world, would you feel like a failure? Like, I know we do this around here. Bronze medal and silver medal, that's first and second loser. I know we do that around here. But if you finished second in the world at anything, would you be a failure?
Yes.
Do you know how different the world was when they finished second? They're not finishing second. They're finishing 10th. What are we doing? Stop saying they're a runner-up when they're 10th.
You were saying this when they were second.
No, but even when they finished second, they came out of 10th. The standard is 10th.
In the East.
Oh, so now the regular season is the standard.
They
and
even
not
when
the playoffs.
even your shiny
Okay.
finals appearance was born out of the play-in. The standard is 10th.
One of their shiny finals appearances.
Also, they never had a shot in either one of these finals. They were never there.
and there's that.
Do not say that about the
true.
bubble. Yeah.
That is not true.
Oh, are we going to just say, because Goran Dragic's ankle
And
was
Bam.
limp?
And
And
Bam.
Bam.
Bam was out
and
too.
we were a game away from a game away. All right.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But it was also
What
kind
about
of,
the Denver series?
kind of funky. It was also kind of funky.
He were ahead with under a minute to play. Game 5 on the road. We were coming back to Miami for Game 6.
Fool's gold is a thing. Fool's gold is a thing in sports.
Just got to box out Bruce Brown one time.
I bet you the Cincinnati Bengals thought that they were going to be running stuff in the AFC. Things happen.
The Patriots feel today like a failure. They're not.
I'd kill for that roster construction. A superstar that I know is going to keep me relevant for 10 years and get me one of those lottery tickets. Yeah, this is not the Patriots. It's a Patriots in that they used to be a regular part of the conversation. Patriots went away. They got bad, and they built they totally reshaped their roster and brought in some new blood. Yeah, maybe they should be the Patriots because the Patriots had Bill Belichick, someone who won plenty over there and wasn't living up to his own standard. And they brought in some new faces, and look where they are now. Second place.
Over the course of the weekend, I don't know how you guys received this news because some of this stuff, obviously, in sports, no matter how securely you think you've built something, it can be undone by something like the health of Chris Bosh. So I saw this weekend that Chris Bosh mentioned that he just woke up in his own blood and that it was a life or death circumstance. I think I can make the argument on behalf of what Chris Bosh's game is that if he had stayed healthy, he'd still be out there shooting jumpers from the perimeter. I don't know how. Maybe he's a little too old for that, but he could have been playing like many of the last 10 years. He could have still been playing as the centerpiece of this team, and I believe would have been better than any of the players that they have if he had stayed healthy over those 10 years.
He'd have been on that team and still effective when Jimmy Butler was here. Like, that'd have been fun, you know?
I mean, he would have been better than Jimmy Butler. I think he's a better player than Jimmy Butler is, even though he's one of the few who had 0 as a great player, 0 points in a game
But
7
the defense, Dan, come on.
because LeBron and Dwayne got all the usage rate. When you think of Chris Bosh and excellence, like in the history of the Miami Heat, where do you place him? Because I think he's better than Jimmy Butler, and I think he's better than Bam, and I think and it's no slight on either Jimmy Butler or Bam. Where do you put him in the pantheon of greatest Heat players there have ever been?
He's certainly better than Bam. I don't know that I would say he's better than Jimmy. So I think with Bosh, we're talking top 6 or 7.
The reason I say he's better than Jimmy is because I saw what he was doing solo with Toronto, finishing as an 8 seed, and he too could have put up 40 and 50 points a game if he was getting all the ball handling the way that Jimmy was getting the ball, and would have been an unstoppable thing as the primary number 1, but they would have been a 7 or an 8 seed.
Yeah, but like what Jimmy did in the playoffs, you know, that Milwaukee series and certainly in the finals against the Lakers. Like,
No, we already established the
doing
playoffs
that.
don't matter. The regular season was where it's at.
I think people may not want to hear it today, all right? But like Jimmy's ahead of Chris Bosh. I love Chris Bosh.
Yeah, I think he's even outside of that Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning, Shaq run.
Well, he's definitely behind Alonzo.
Yeah. Is he behind Tim Hardaway?
I think he's above Tim Hardaway.
Killer crossover.
I think you nailed it. It's like 6.
It's like 6 or 7.
That's where we are with this basketball team. Rushmore season.
That's where you're at.
Well, what happened to you? So the Houston, you win. You beat Houston by 10, and
Getting
you go
feisty
from.
with Kevin Durant?
Don't let
Come
him.
on.
What did Jeremy announce last week after their 2 losses? Did he
It
say
was before.
Yeah, before I said don't let the Heat win 2 or I'm going to be really
He
annoyed
warned
come
everyone.
Friday.
And they didn't.
And then they lost both games, and I said, hey, my bad. I won't do that anymore. And then they beat Houston on Saturday, and
brutal
I'm
performance.
all the way back in.
Brutal performance.
I'm
from
citing pace, defensive rating, Oh man,
We have 2 in a row against the Nets, right? You gonna say it?
So real
Yeah, they're gonna
disgrace.
win a couple there.
They've won 15 games.
Beginning of
in
March
here.
here.
Don't
It's
let
gonna
the
be
Heat
fun.
win 2 in a row this week. They didn't.
Okay.
Gives wrong facts.
That was a rough one.
Oh man, sorry. Not first, but second in defensive rating by a percentage point. My bad.
Also, you saying first in the league in points per game when they're 15th in offensive rating is really, really disingenuous.
Pace matters, Trista. Pace matters. Different team from last year, guys. Totally different.
When you're taking your shirt off and using your body as comedy, you're going.
That's Florida, bro.
You're going maximum
That's
Florida, man.
That's Florida.
When did you decide to start doing that? When was it encouraged? When did that become your signature? The idea that you're up there just throwing your body at the people here in a tight pair of jeans, shirtless.
I was. The jeans have gotten tighter the fat I've gotten. They weren't always tight. My daughter said Baby Walrus needs to move out of skinny jeans. I started doing it just to cheer myself up because you get on the road and do like a Thursday night and you'd be like, I got a whole weekend ahead of me. This is gonna be a long weekend. I'm missing my family. It's not sold out. So I would rip my shirt off and kill a beer to make myself giggle because I thought it was silly and to remind myself this should be fun. And then one night I was in Columbus, Ohio. I ripped my shirt off and killed a beer. And then something happened in the room and I forgot to put it back on. And one of the comics I respected was in the back and he was like, bro, you just did a whole hour with your shirt off.
And how does this work with comfort with your body? Because not everyone can do that. You're the first to be doing that. Not everyone is comfortable enough with their size to be in front of thousands of people shirtless like that because it is funny.
It's interesting because I have this reverse body dysmorphia. So like I heard a story, secret time. Obviously I'll tell you, but secret time. I heard a story that Chris Pratt was a fat kid growing up and that someone told me like he'll always be fat in his head. No matter how great of shape he is, he'll always think of himself as a fat kid. I was in shape as a kid, and so I do not see myself fat at all. As a matter of fact, I think in Razzle Dazzle, I look low-key jacked. I think I look.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I think that we can all agree that Steve Kerr is somebody who is exceptional at his job, even though Steve Kerr, before getting that job, had no experience whatsoever to tell us that. Like, I'm not even saying that he had experience that would disprove that. He had no experience. He was hired as a head coach who didn't have experience, could have chosen between the Knicks and the Warriors. Derek Fisher took the Knicks, never worked again. Head coaching, Steve Kerr ends up being multi-time champion. When Tristan Juju mentioned Jonathan Kuminga, okay, and I see what's happening there, this is always confusing to me, Zaz, because I've heard so many athletes over the years say, politics, that's the only reason that I didn't get my opportunity. I was a star, I could have been a star, I just didn't get a chance. You have so few jobs in that sport, and when that champion is established, it's going to be really hard for a young person to break in there. What do you make of the fact? Is Steve Kerr wrong? Is Steve Kerr wrong about Jonathan Kuminga? Or is it just that I could give any number of people in that sport the ball, showcase them, and all the offenses are going to get to 110 points. So if I'm giving the ball to the one guy and saying, well, you're a majestic talent, then he's going to be great, but the team's going to be, not a champion, not as good as Steve Kerr's team has been.
So I feel like that's something we could say about someone like Cam Johnson, what he's done. Cam Thomas? I get them confused with the Nets. He was just traded.
Waived by the Nets, but clearly a good offensive player. Waived by the Nets in a way that made me shocked that he was waived by the Nets because everyone knows he's a great offensive player.
Yeah, Cam Thomas. I feel like that's something we could say about a guy like Cam Thomas. Somebody's going to be a looter and a riot on a bad team, and, maybe that's Cam Thomas. We'll find out. Jonathan Kuminga was the 7th overall pick in the draft. Like, Jonathan Kuminga is when you're selected 7th overall, you're expected to be a guy who's going to be a really good player. And I hear this narrative coming out of Golden State, people who are around the team, where it's like, Kuminga, he was never going to work, in this Golden State offense. He was never going to work on Steph's team, I'm sorry. Maybe he's not going to be the guy that's scoring 22 points a game so far in his 3-4 games with the Hawks, but he's riding 17 consecutive did not play coaches' decisions. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I think that's a fair indictment. And you talk about Spo, I think that there are things that you can look at within Steve Kerr and say that is a cautionary tale as well. If you talk to Warriors fans, they're not saying that Steve Kerr is the best coach or that he doesn't have warts, right? And you look at him as a developer. He's really, really good with high-end, top talent that are veterans, that he came in like Steph Curry. But what did he do with Moses Moody? What did he do with James Wiseman? What has he done with Jonathan Kuminga? Pods is the only one that's kind of like had some good moments, and even he, I think, is a player that you could say maybe should be developed more. I think, honestly, that's probably the biggest problem that the Warriors have had is developing talent, and I think that falls squarely on Steve Kerr.
Right on Steve Kerr. And as I mentioned last week, put me in the head coaching position with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Kevin Durant. I'm going to get you that chip, man.
This is the accountability that should be around the Miami Heat franchise. You say the Warriors, and look, I know with Pop there was some health, but R.C. Buford also constructed it. You had Bob Myers, you had R.C. Buford, guys that had overwhelming success at those franchises. Even they met their ends and realized that it was time to go. With Miami, they haven't had that level of success or consistency, and yet the key players remain.
Juju says what he says about winning a championship, but Mark Jackson, with all of that, didn't get out of the second round. And those players did grow into that. And the indictment that you're making of Steve Kerr is one we made for years of Pat Riley, who was throwing the bad back of Dan Marley out there because he only trusted veterans. And, of course, what Steve Kerr has learned when he's never had a job like that before is when I trust my old guys come through for me, and those are the guys I'm going to trust. But I want to cover something that's happening with Steve Kerr that is wildly confusing to me and has been for years. I don't know what's going on with Porzingis. I don't feel like many people know, even though the internet is rife with rumors on this subject. But that was legitimately, you guys every year are telling me that there's going to be something at the trade deadline that happens, and it's always George Hill as the final piece, not winning the championship for anybody. But Porzingis was a final piece for a champion. And since then, wildly confusing general illness. Steve Kerr said something on the radio the other day that he talked to Atlanta's GM and that it was POTS, and then he ran back away from that saying, look, I'm wildly unqualified to talk about any of this.
What is POTS?
It's an acronym, and I don't know what the acronym is for it, but thank you for asking me a question that I have no idea how to answer. Yeah. Steve Kerr doesn't know what it is, and he's got it in his locker room. And
I
Zaz
appreciate
just does
Zaz.
that to me. In fact, you know what? I'm going to kick him out.
No,
here.
no, no.
Yes,
He asked a question that
no.
we should be asking.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know what it is either.
He could ask it privately instead of just doing that.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
In the moment, I wish the moment.
Let's
had
acknowledge we don't know what it is either and look it up. Let's be human. Let's not try to be perfect.
We're going to do that while he sits in the other room for 2 minutes.
Dictator.
He's just asking the question. God bless him for doing so.
No, God curse him for doing so. Be out there for 2 minutes by yourself, ruminating on not helping me do the show by asking me a question that I don't have the answer to.
Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. I think that's heart related.
But it's also not that, according to Steve Kerr. He said it wasn't that, and then everyone's running away and just calling it general illness. And I don't know that we've seen this kind of confusion around somebody. Where was he drafted? Because he was also, when he talks about Kuminga being a number 7 pick, Porzingis was drafted high enough that he was expected to be a game-changing type of player for a good amount of time. And the illness is just super confusing, that they're just filing it under general illness and no one can talk about it comfortably or informed.
But even Porzingis said that he had POTS. There's an Athletic article about it, and he acknowledged it. So I'm not really sure. I think Steve Kerr's trying to avoid a HIPAA violation.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it is that. And Steve Kerr said too much and realized it's probably not his business to be saying that, and that's why he walked it back. It was more procedural than whether or not it had anything to do with the truth.
Okay, but as it relates to HIPAA violations, just so that we're clear on what the Kerr quotes were, what Kerr said wasn't, it is that. Porzingis said it was that, and then Kerr said it's not that. And now they're filing it under general illness as the coach realizes, yes, you're right. You can't be talking about somebody's health, but you certainly can't be saying that what this person has diagnosed it as is wrong, that he's giving us bad information. What Kerr has thrown into the information stream for me is that Kerr knows something that I don't know, but didn't know not to say it. Because why would Kerr say it's not that unless he didn't think it was that? There's no reason to say that unless you feel like it's not that. And now it just leads to more questions. When, again, they're filing, this has been now 3 years of Porzingis can't play any meaningful games or meaningful minutes while they talk about general illness, which is not something I've ever heard of, sidelining a player for 3 years. Like, that's not, you give me all the precedent you guys have for an important top 5 pick being someone who just can't play during something that's close to his prime. Like, is he even 30? He's 30 by now, right? Like,
Yeah. I think he's probably past it, but again, I haven't seen him on the floor with consistency. And also, we can't eliminate the fact that he was traded from Boston and was with a franchise that wasn't actively trying to win. So I think this is part of acquiring Porzingis and not really knowing what the deal or the sensitivities there are, and Kerr just probably said too much and tried to walk all of it back. But I think the last time we were here with a name that we recognize in that league and a guy that can contribute is Kawhi, where we didn't really know what was going on, where there was a mystery around his health. There have been health issues in the league before that prevented guys from playing. Chris Bosh, even dating way back to Magic Johnson. This one is a little bit of a mystery. And if you go down the internet, there's all sorts of irresponsible wormholes that you can go down when it comes with this one. But I think this one reminds me most of the Kawhi thing in that I don't know what's wrong.
The Kawhi one was slightly different, though, because I had a pretty good idea it was his knee. Like, it wasn't a general illness. I knew that it was his body and that he was having some issues with doctors.
We get to the bottom of that POTS mystery yet?
Yeah, we did. Thank you. We answered that while you were you're in the purgatory over there. Let's get to Draymond Green here, though, speaking of the Warriors, because Draymond Green, as it relates to what's happening right now to Luka with the Lakers and some of the stuff I'm talking about with, there's one basketball and 5 guys are allowed to play at the same time. And when Luka and LeBron play together, somebody's numbers are going to suffer. Somebody's not going to be quite the same player as Luka is in Dallas, even if he's fat, if he's getting the entirety of the usage rate. So now Draymond is coming out here and saying, because the Lakers are truly terrible at defense, and you almost can't be good at defense if Luka can be picked on, because Luka is not a good defensive player. Here's Draymond Green saying something I don't hear anyone saying, which is, was Nico Harrison right?
But now when I turn on the TV, all I see is everybody in the media who crushed Nico Harrison, who essentially aided in him getting fired, regurgitating the same things that Nico Harrison was saying. And I struggle with that because I haven't seen one person come out and say, hey, Nico, I'm sorry for the things I said about you when you made that move. Because I just said the same thing out of my mouth. I struggle with that a bit. Again, this has nothing to do with Luka Doncic and everything to do with the media and Nico Harrison. Nico gave his reasonings as the general manager of a team of why he thought that was the right move. And everybody said, you're an idiot. You should be fired. Worst general manager in NBA history. And now all of you people are saying the same thing. But no one has said, maybe Nico was right.
What does that mean when he says that he's struggling with that? Like, will Draymond just be chilling to be like, what's up, Draymond? Yo, I'm struggling with that.
Trista, why are you laughing? Is it because he says that with a bunch of marbles in his mouth? Like, you're laughing because you can't understand half of what he's saying. Because, yeah, you.
It's like, I think that's, like, is that your AAVE? That's your Ebonic slur?
Why do you say it like
that? Why do you say it like that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I think he says it like that when he's most arrogant.
Let's not do that ever again.
This is so borderline.
He's when he's feeling really good about himself.
Me?
I think you put extra marbles.
Please don't.
Extra marbles in. Again, I need that to be my voice, not
Sometimes
your voice.
No, you don't.
You
I'm
sound
here
like
to help today.
You sound like a gemstone, bruh.
Last week was great when you weren't talking back to me.
I just don't understand. You're struggling? Why is he struggling?
He's struggling with the fact that the media is criticizing.
You changed the way it sounded there a little bit. You should seize on that one.
But he's struggling. Like, how's he struggling? I don't understand.
There we go. That's what we wanted. Struggling.
Yeah, look, now Zaz is speaking the Kings.
There was no difference in the way I said it there and the way I said it
There
earlier.
is a difference. You swallow the L. The L disappears. It becomes Strogan.
He knows what he did.
I don't know what I did.
It's when he gets most confident that he rolls it around. You know what it is to me? What I hear in his mouth is the equivalent of somebody waving around a good scotch with a snifter. But it's in his mouth. The whole thing is in his mouth, and he's just got extra confidence. He's going to come after Draymond here. But what about the meat of what it is that he's saying?
My bad.
What about the meat?
There is nobody saying that Nico Harrison was not wrong, but Luka is now coming under criticism with the Lakers because they're clearly not good enough. And Luka's team in Dallas is better than this Lakers team.
Okay, Draymond knows the centerpiece of that Luka trade. Anthony Davis was traded a few weeks ago, right? Does you know that part? Do you know that part of the Luka trade? Him wondering why no one is saying Nico was right. Does he know that the centerpiece, the only guy that he wanted for Luka, the only team he negotiated with, the Lakers, does he know that that guy, Anthony Davis, was sent to Siberia a few weeks ago, also known as the Wizards, and has not been heard or seen from since? Does he know?
I'm proud of you. You basically sound like you're on Bridgerton now compared to where you were
I'm loving
just
this.
minutes earlier.
Spitting facts, though. He's right.
Also, what is not being mentioned is that Nico Harrison and Draymond Green are essentially boys because Nico Harrison was running Nike basketball for forever and a day, and Draymond is basically holding water for Nico Harrison. I will not let that stand.
Well put. Mike mentioned Bridgerton. Are you guys aware? I don't know how. I think people are aware of this, but that basically Hollywood has already collapsed on itself so much that Netflix billboards are all over the city in a way that dwarfs all other competition, including billboard ads for things like Bridgerton, because Netflix has taken over the entirety of the town.
We're back, baby. Goes to California once.
I mean, but it's not. It's obvious. Like it's obvious to anyone who's working out there. It's not because I'm going to California once. It's clear that there are only 5 entities that are running the entire city, and most of it is Netflix.
City, the world.
Yep.
Is Jerry Bruckheimer mad about it?
Didn't ask him about that. But
What? You finally had a guy that could answer your curiosities about Hollywood collapsing on itself.
It's super interesting to me to watch it happen, though. Like you've got so many actors there who are going to be out of work, replaced by robots soon, and they know it. They all know that all the jobs are going to disappear because these tech institutions are going to figure out how to replace them rather easily. We have an interview here that we can show you of a reporter, a real live reporter. He ends up talking to what is the name of that robot, Chris Cody? The robot that,
I'm terrified of this
impressed
video.
you. Okay, so you're terrified by this video. I had a friend of mine show me something the other day. He did he's in his 50s. He didn't know how to do AI. He wrote a sketch and he turned it with AI into something that was a comedy skit with human beings that looked to me like they were human beings, but they're not human beings. It's all artificial. And as soon as Hollywood figures out how to get you to care about one of these artificial things the way you do about Matt Damon or whoever it is that makes you go to the movies, they're going to figure out how to replace all human beings with these things. Sprout, the robot, scared you, Chris Cody?
It's terrifying.
Because it felt like it had a human personality to you?
It's the most realistic interview I've heard with a robot, and you're going to hear it's Tom Lamas from NBC News. He's talking to Sprout, and he asks him a couple questions, and then he redirects it towards Sprout's handler, like a guy with Sprout, and Sprout is just like, no, I'll jump in here. Like Sprout is just like, no, you don't have to talk to my handler. I'll answer this question too.
For those of you listening on audio, this robot is super tiny, meant to look non-threatening, okay? Meant to look like it can't take over the world because it's the size of a toddler. It's very small, and it doesn't look anything like a human being. It looks like a very small robot. Let's hear from Sprout here.
Sprout, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Hey, Tom. It's an honor to be here on Top Story. I'm super excited to show what I can do and have a little fun during the interview. Thanks for having me.
Is this your first time at 30 Rock, or have you been here before?
This is my first time here at 30 Rock, and I have to say, it's pretty amazing to see it in person. The energy here is awesome.
Sprout, ¿hablas español?
Sí, hablo español. ¿En qué te puedo ayudar?
Sprout, do you have any dreams or imaginations?
I don't have dreams like humans do, but I do imagine a future where I keep learning and growing alongside people. My goal is to always be a helpful, friendly companion, making life a bit easier and more enjoyable for everyone around me. So if that counts as a dream, I guess I'm living it.
So, Rob, I mean, that almost sounds too perfect. Is that programmed inside of Sprout, or is that just the AI working inside and coming up with those thoughts?
This is all that... Well, Sprout, you can speak for yourself.
I can definitely think for myself within the boundaries of my programming and what I've learned from interactions. It's like having a flexible toolkit to respond to different situations. So each conversation helps shape how I respond next time. It's all about adapting and growing with every interaction.
Yeah, we're done.
This is exactly how the movie starts every time, no matter what. Look at them, they're so nice.
Remember how Whitty said that if you did Kevin Durant's career over and over and over again, this was like the worst version of it? That's just the Earth now. We did it the worst way possible. This is the end result? Like with what? Within 5 years, we're all out of jobs, we're all done, and it's like not just 5 businesses, 5 people running all of it.
I don't know.
You think Sprout would get me accurate information on the Miami Heat?
Yeah, Jeremy. That's a rough look.
Sprout definitely wouldn't. AI doesn't get anything right.
I don't feel threatened.
What was that? What are you doing again?
I don't feel threatened.
He's at maximum confidence. They can't make a robot that speaks like it's got a snifter in its mouth and with a bunch of marbles.
Robot's going to say things that I say?
Not the way that you would say.
Robot's going to think the way I think? Robot can't do this. I don't care.
I think you're overthinking your own voice at this point.
He's so in his head.
We shouldn't have seized on it. This is bad. This is real bad.
Yeah, this is bad.
He's going to turn into Bullworth.
We've undercut. We've undercut who he is at his core, and he's going to slowly morph into somebody who's hosting the show as a character in Bridgerton. That's not good. I want to play for the group some sound here from Paul George. Pablo's going to be at the Sloan Conference. That is a match made in heaven right there. Pablo's going to Sloan this week to do a live show after doing a live show with Roy Wood Jr. last weekend.
This Paul George clip has been pointed out that it was actually a couple years ago, but it's very relevant to the Kawhi situation.
Thank you for the clarification on the date on that. I feel like if a robot had been in that spot, I would have known that in the morning meeting. So the Paul George sound is about Kawhi Leonard, and it's old enough that Brian Shaw was coaching the Clippers at the time. I don't believe he's there anymore. And the rules were different from for Kawhi since the very beginning. Is this surprising to you at all? When I play this sound for you, Zaslow, is it surprising to hear a star of Paul George's stature say there was one set of rules for me, but it's a different set of rules for Kawhi Leonard?
When you airball in practice, right, you got to stop play. So we could be practicing, scrimmaging, you airball a shot, you got to drop the ball, run down and
Everybody
back.
say, we'll wait.
Yeah, we'll say we'll wait. So I do it. Everybody abides by the law.
Nobody's above the law.
Nobody's above the law. That's B. Shaw saying. You're not above the law. Go do it, right? So I've done it. Like, everybody's done it. Kawhi airballs. Right?
Everybody's looking around like.
And everybody's looking around like, who's going to tell them we'll wait? So now, like, I'm looking at B. Shaw. B. Shaw don't say nothing. So then finally B. Shaw's like.
Nah, everybody's on B. Shaw's ass low key. Like, yo, B.
We
Shaw.
on B. Shaw ass. Like, B, you ain't going to say nothing? So finally, like, why, like, I'm not running.
Why you sound just like straight like that?
Straight up.
Straight like that.
I'm not running. And B. Shaw, like, nobody's above the law. Like, he like, it's basketball. I'm an airball again. Like, you're not about to coach me or teach me that, like, airballing is, like, not good. It's part of the game. Like,
that's so
I'm not running.
Yo, and then like 20 minutes later, somebody else airball. And Wise like, see? He's like, you got it in everybody's head now. Now everybody airball.
Had me nervous to shoot. Like,
so he went above the law. Yeah.
That's a good Kawhi Leonard impersonation. We all heard Kawhi Leonard's act of insubordination in a couple of words in a sentence with "I'm not running." And what do you do if you're the coach in that spot? Like what recourse do you have if you're Brian Shaw?
I think Kawhi Leonard is 100% right in that response, and he's also a dick. Because, like, if this is the way the team this is what the team does, be part of the team. Like, Kawhi's rationale is 1,000% right. But, like, are you part of the team or are you not part of the team?
I'm not running.
It's a good impersonation. It sounds a lot. It really sounds a lot more like Kawhi than it does like Paul George.
I'm not running.
And you're saying he's 1,000% right, but he's not 1,000% right. He's simply wrong. It's a team rule.
I'm not running.
No, but he's right about his explanation where it's if I shoot an air ball, it's part of the game. What? There's nothing like inherently wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. He's right about that.
I'm not running.
Zaz, he's not right by just telling his coach, I'm not doing what is a team rule for everyone else.
I'm not running.
That's why he's a dick.
I'm not running.
So he's right, but he's a dick?
You could be right and a dick.
Did y'all hear Kawhi when they asked him about the team's chances this year in the playoffs? He was like, oh, nah, we through this year. It's not so many games left.
He didn't even pretend. He didn't even try and give them something that just faked its way
He said
through.
that window is closed.
There have not been a lot of superstars in the history of the league like him. I think Stephen A. Smith is way too hard on him when he says he's the worst superstar in league history because he did win a championship in Toronto and knocked out the Warriors of Golden State. And like there's never been anybody with his resume of championships that's viewed the way that he's viewed. Like that I could have made the argument based on that famous clip of LeBron James in his prime looking over his shoulder when Kawhi's checking back into the game and LeBron's like, bleep, we missed our opportunity to do something while he wasn't in the game. His legacy is going to be so confusing to people on what to do with what it is that he chose to do with the last part of his career, because you don't normally have that kind of centerpiece at the center of championships that's regarded by a whole lot of people as at best a mystery, right? That's the most positive way that I can frame it, right? We've talked before about Russell Wilson playing his way out of the Hall of Fame. What has Kawhi Leonard, with the mercenary nature of what he's done to ultimately destroy the future of the Clippers, how's that all going to be remembered? Is it going to be remembered as a great champion? Because there aren't a whole lot of guys that win that many championships and do it in multiple places. And the second time, or the third time, excuse me, or is it the fourth time? Is it the third time or the fourth time? Does it largely by himself in Toronto. Pascal Siakam is your second best player. It's hard to win a championship.
He's going to be remembered as the guy who was Finals MVP twice, because it's not as if, like with Russell Wilson playing his way potentially out of the Hall of Fame, that has not been Kawhi Leonard. When Kawhi Leonard plays, he's still really, really great. It's not like we're watching a shell of himself out there. He just isn't out there enough. But when he is, he's always the best player on the floor.
He's probably the best player in the league this year. Yes. He is having the best statistical year of his entire career. But our guy Pablo just comes out and throws dirt on his name where he's not even getting voted as an all-star, which is just poppycock.
And I also think that how the world works now, unfortunately, he gonna be the brother we remember for not planting them trees, man, because the scandal stick. I don't know too much positive about Ronald Reagan. I know what he did wrong, though.
Was it Iran-Contra?
The news that came out last week about Ishbia, the owner of the Suns, saying, I've got a way to make the All-Star game even better than it already was this year when the players did us the courtesy of caring. I'll get them to care even more by making it $1 million for the three-point competition if you win it, and $1 million if you're in the dunk competition. I thought as soon as I heard it, wow, that's really smart. Wow, that's dystopian. That you have to all of a sudden get millionaires in order, because I think you'd get them to participate in those contests if you put the bonus out there like that. But I also think that it's really offensive that you have to do that in order to get them to do that on top of their salaries.
Yeah, your third thought should have been like, this is salary cap circumvention.
That's what Amin told us.
Which is like, Amin kind of dismiss it out of hand, to which like Ishbia has other companies that can maybe step up and sponsor, but as we know with aspiration, that could be problematic too. So the idea may work out, but Ishbia certainly can't be behind it, at least as he laid it out.
All of this stuff has to be collectively bargained, but when Adam Silver, can dismiss it, as he's dismissed all of the Kevin Durant burner talk, because he has more information than most of the people gossiping about it. You can dismiss it, but once Adam Silver puts all things on the table, I don't think you can dismiss it, because they've got to fix that portion of the weekend as well. If they've already made the changes to fix the game itself, they also have to fix the other part. And if they don't do it that way, the idea by itself is something that can work.
Right. You mentioned it has to be collectively bargained. I don't know if it has to be, because Adam Silver just changed it. Like we had something different from one year to another year, and I don't know if there was a round of negotiations or if this was all handled in a back room.
Money. When there's money involved, it's not about effort. He changed the game. He didn't change the way people can make money. Once you throw money into the mix, it's got to be collectively bargained how it is that all gets split up. But it's not surprising to me at all that Ishbia, like, this is a funny thing, right? When you think of how things in sports are changing and Draymond Green's real problem there with what it is that he was saying is with the media. Pat McAfee also has a problem with the media. And I don't know if you saw that Pat McAfee, his new agent, I think, is the guy who was being portrayed by Jeremy Piven in Entourage, who runs Hollywood.
Ari Emanuel, right?
Ari Emanuel, correct. Ari Emanuel is Pat McAfee. If he's not his agent, he's out here saying, I want to make Pat McAfee the next Sylvester Stallone. That's what I want to do with McAfee. To see Ishbia, a new kind of owner, who comes from allegedly a whole lot of predatory lending in what it is that he does to get to the top of the food chain, the same way that Dan Gilbert does. To see McAfee, who's doing multi-$100,000 field goal competitions, just sit there with a billionaire and say, how do we fix this? Can we do it with millions of dollars? And have it get the attention of players. Because how many players do you think are listening to that and are saying, yeah, I wouldn't have done the dunk competition. I wouldn't do the three-point competition. But if you give me $1 million clean for winning the thing, all of a sudden now you turn an exhibition weekend into something that's a gambling weekend for the players. You're allowing the players to do something that feels like gambling and filing it under competition. It's a good idea.
I don't know if it feels like gambling. Think about Unrivaled. They did the one-on-one competition, and it was $250,000, right, Juju, to the winner? And that is the same amount as a max contract. So let's do the one-on-one for the NBA, and let's make it the size of a max contract.
I like the idea of there being a huge grand prize like that for the slam dunk, and like a fight breaks out because Julius Erving holds up like a 9 instead of a 10 on the final dunk.
We hadn't considered that. Yes, Wembanyama grabbing Julius Erving by the back of the head and just dragging an old man around the court because he's lost $1 million on something subjective.
I mean, what would have happened that year a few years ago where Dwayne Wade rigged it for Derrick Jones Jr. to beat, who was it, Aaron Gordon?
Aaron Gordon.
In the slam dunk. Imagine us for $1 million.
Jeremy, I may need one of your drawstring investigations to find out how this story had anything to do with Pat McAfee. Yeah. Can we reverse engineer the Pat McAfee to Matt Ishbia link?
Ishbia was on McAfee's show when he gave the idea.
There it is. All right, because like the Sylvester Stallone Pat McAfee bit didn't feel like it was important contextually to reshaping the All-Star game.
Also, since we mentioned Pat McAfee, I would like to just give my boy a round of applause right quick. Pat McAfee, man.
Why?
What are we applauding?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know.
It was established last week.
Okay, I feel left out. That's good on my own show. So Ishbia is an owner who thinks a little bit differently than most owners. And what I'm saying about McAfee and the link is seeing those two people turn the All-Star game into a game show where they have to offer the superstar millions of dollars beyond their salary is a good idea that is playful and also something that I believe Silver will take under advisement to figure out how to do something like that so that you make competitive people compete over an amount of money that matters.
I mean, well, if you're running it by Pat McAfee, giving money away to anybody seems to be a very effective thing for the brand. It usually works with him. The ratings bear this out. People love watching other people compete for big sums of money. That's worked for Pat.
You know about that giving away money, Dan?
Yeah, I do know about that giving away money, Zaz. It's what we're doing around here every day. For you to ask me questions about pots and Mike to tell me how our show was good last week with inside jokes that are not revealed to me today.
Probably listen to the show.
Yeah, I could do that.
That's what we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Got his ass.
I didn't like that whatsoever. Send him away.
You know what? I'm going to send myself away so I can just cool down a little bit.
Final penalty, 2 minutes. Tremenda, Carcassonne.
I don't see how Carcassonne matters there. Like, Carcassonne is usually like a cat, isn't it? I don't understand how that's a tremendo Carcassonne. I really don't. But, Zaz, I do appreciate you toning down the vernacular a little bit.
I don't know what you mean.
I don't know what you mean.
I talk the way I talk, man. I am who I am.
I'm going to take it to Iran.
Yeah?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Good place to go.
I'm going to take it to Iran because it's
Good.
You know, we're at war, and Dan tried to talk politics with Inter Miami going to the White House, and he asked what our reaction was to that.
I didn't even know that they are going.
No, they're going. I saw that, unless things have changed recently with the war. I saw that Beckham and Messi will all be there at the White House as invited guests to celebrate the MLS Cup.
Right.
I saw that, and this is a part of sports historically, which, we mentioned that. Usually you're not being invited to the State of the Union, but the State of the Union often uses people as props. Sometimes they're regular civilians. Sometimes they're people that have been injured at war. Sometimes they're heroes. Oftentimes they're heroes, and that's what Team USA was to a lot of people, and I get that. But I do have an issue with it because it's one of my teams. The Florida Panthers did it. I wasn't crazy about it. The news came out, I think, after we did our show on Friday, that Trump once again is going to turn to sports and try to fix college football. Hopefully he does a better job of it. He's having Tim Tebow as a part of this, Nick Saban,
I don't
Bryson
think I even saw that.
Yeah, it was positioned once again as fixing college football, although there are people from sports, all over sports, that are, I think Randy Levine is a part of it from the Yankees.
You got to start with that kickoff rule.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going to go. And it's funny, this president keeps going back to sports because he's getting what he needs out of it, which is to normalize, because sports are super normal. We have heroes like Tim Tebow is a very famous dude. Nick Saban these are very well-respected dudes. And when you're sitting across from this president, having any conversation, which isn't, what the hell are we doing here? This is nuts, normalizes him. And he is going to gravitate to that. And I'm not surprised when you consider Inter Miami's ownership and their causes and their donations, why they're all for this. Messi being used for it. Messi, he's Argentinian. He operates in a different moral scale. Like Ronaldo was there. Those two always seem to be tied at the hip at these conversations. Beckham being there, that one's probably a little dicey for his brand. He stands to lose the most of this, given that he's famously English. I don't like it. Especially now where we're at war in which 80% of Americans didn't want to be in. And I do think sports should probably cool down on this, but they're not. The distinction that needs to be made is you're normalizing something that flatly isn't normal, and you need to stop being used.
having had some time here to cool off and be alone with my thoughts and see all of the ways that I am flawed, perhaps publicly you guys can help catch me up on some things that I've missed last week from the scouting combine, because I thought that there were 3 big stories from the scouting combine, okay? Diego Pavia is himself, and so people don't like when a quarterback goes in there, or any player, and isn't maximum humble inside of the system. Ruben Bain's arms are too short. And then this man, Jennings Dunker.
Oh, my hero.
Offensive lineman from Iowa, and from your hair metal band past. This is 80s music. This is, this is Poison. This is a big guy with a mullet.
Look at him doing drills here.
Is that a pure ginger, Chris?
Oh, that is a proper ginger right there. Full.
What do you think, Juju? Do you think that's a proper ginger?
You know how I feel about that word. I don't want to be.
You're scared. You're scared of that word.
Yeah, I don't like the word either.
For some reason, I am scared of that word.
He says it's pejorative. It's pejorative.
I don't think it is pejorative. I believe that it should be pejorative because you're attacking a minority, but you're doing it with ginger, and it's just a nice word. But Juju doesn't want any part of it. If you're listening to Ali,
I didn't like the word growing up. I'll be honest with you.
Okay, so you think it's a slur. You think this because Juju's avoiding the word entirely.
On the list of slurs, probably low.
But a slur nonetheless.
I'll give you that.
I don't think anyone looks at it as a slur. But now
Let's rank them.
Well,
I'll do the one.
You need to, on behalf of fellow gingers, rise up if you wish for it to be considered a slur, because I have heard no one ever say that gingers are being wronged by being called gingers. It's not exactly a term of endearment, but it's sure not a slur.
No, it's not.
But it's not a slur. It's not a slur. Look, it does. I don't think it even gets close to cracker.
Oh.
Wow. I am scared.
Who gave him the green light?
I don't think it's even. I think ginger exists in this space where it is not quite offensive, but it's just a descriptive term that isn't quite as benign as redhead. But also, I have never heard anyone. I've heard gingers refer to themselves as ginger without.
We could say it to each other.
Oh,
sure, they can say it.
They can say it with an A at the end. Ginger.
Can I see a little more of this guy doing drills? It's a great name, Jennings Dunker. But it's a lot.
Look at this guy.
It's a lot of red hair. But Chris, I'm not sure it's a lot of freckles.
Oh, there's some pale thighs though.
I cannot tell from here that there are freckles, and also.
Can we zoom in on that arm?
And also, Sam Darnold is a little bit paler. I think of gingers as being slightly less tan than this person. Not getting a tan in Iowa. The combine is where? Is it still in Indianapolis? Or
Yes. That's why Carson Beck got booed, because they allow paying patrons to go over there and heckle Carson Beck, who, by the way, made himself some money. Was the most impressive quarterback on throwing day.
Why is it that he was being heckled just because Indiana?
Because they lost to Indiana. Yeah. Also, people just hate Carson Beck. I think it's his face. Yeah.
Definitely his face.
It looks like a Muggsy cartoon.
What other scouting combine stories did I miss? Is there anything good that other than those 3 that I just mentioned?
The head coach of the Jets, Aaron Glenn, took a nap during the combine.
Yeah,
on TV.
Aaron Glenn got caught, was alerted that he was on camera and had to be startled. We can grab that video for you. Jeremiah Love, very fast. Why wasn't Arkansas better? Was another question that people were asking. Markel Bell, where maybe Ruben Bain has some physical deficiencies, Markel Bell seems like an elevated human being who is very fast. I don't know if he's going to have to run 40 yards downfield, but it seems as though he can do so quite well. The Ruben Bain discourse is interesting. It's because, we've always known that he's been undersized. We've known about his wingspan, but I guess people at large didn't. The tape speaks for itself.
The thing about wingspan that's interesting to me, because every year at this time we start objectifying these people in a way that's meat markety, and it's usually there's some small hand stuff. This is not something that I've heard a lot of, though, because you have to have a specific set of things to be a great edge rusher, and usually the Jadeveon Clowneys of the world happen to have hands that reach down to around their knees because they can swing around the edge with that kind of wingspan. But Ruben, the way that Ruben Bain does it, though, is because he's lower to the ground. He is lower to the ground on the edge rush when he leans to you, and it's all strength. It almost doesn't matter that his arms are short because of how he's using leverage.
But he will run into times where it matters. In fact, he has run into times. I've seen film breakdowns of when he was going up against Ole Miss's line. That was good, and bigger body types, and where your wingspan does matter. We ran, same thing happened to Brett Romberg, who was a center for the University of Miami.
T-Rex arms.
Who had short arms. It's blocking. You're physically battling someone else, and you're at a disadvantage, a clear one, if your arms are shorter when you're trying to disengage. So, yeah, Ruben Bain has to be more powerful, has to be a little bit lower, has to be a little bit quicker off the edge. He is all those things. I think he's going to be a real good pro. Will he replicate the same amount of success he had in college going up against consistently bigger body types and wingspans? He's going to have to be really, really great to overcome that stuff, and it's probably why he won't be drafted, top 5. If he had normal arm length at the position, the guy would be a bona fide top 3 pick, a no-doubter.
Yeah, it was also 2 more stories that came out. One, the USC wide receiver, Lemon, he was giving sassy look. He was serving looks to after the question.
I saw that.
Right. Then it didn't go over too well. As also a reporter, one of our own guys in the media, took upon himself to do his own combine. And this is one of the guys that they say has been talking about Caleb Williams' fingernails and the softness of people. And he did a little bench press, and we got a video of that. Let's see that video, team.
Oh, yeah, no.
I was not ready for that.
Did he say, oh, yeah, no?
Why would he subject himself to do that?
That's 135 pounds. That's not the 225 that they've got to throw up. That's 135 pounds. Why would he subject himself to that?
Jeremy said he wanted to do it.
That's not what happened.
Back here.
I said he looks like me, and I said specifically, I'm not going to say I could do that because then Dan will make me do it, and I'm not going to. I'm already saying it. I'm not going to do it.
Make him.
I
Make
won't.
him. Make him.
Nope.
We have a gym.
I already have a bad back and neck specifically because Brian McKinney put me in a headlock, and I'm not doing anything about that. So let's not push it any further.
McKinney hurt me too in that same situation, so I'm on Jeremy's side.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys look up for me what the record is? It's still Larry Allen holds the record for bench press at the scouting combine because I think he did 225 46 times, and I don't know if anyone has topped it since. Larry Allen was somebody who was feared by a whole bunch of violent men who do defensive things for a living. For 46 times at 225, which is that's really embarrassing for that reporter.
How did he think that was going to go?
I'm just surprised that he had that much trouble, though, with, I mean, you got to be able to get 135 up off the one time. Like, it can't just collapse on your chest. If you're someone who's criticizing Caleb Williams for painting his fingernails and being soft.
It was immediate give up.
You can't just quit when it lands on your chest and is that light.
He said, oh, yeah, no.
That is...
The record at the combine for reps of 225 pounds is 51, set by defensive tackle of Eastern Kentucky, Justin Ernest, in 1999. Larry Allen did it 43 times at a Pro Bowl.
How was that player from Eastern Michigan? Did he play in the pros, or was he just somebody who holds the combine record and then stopped playing football after that because it's not somebody whose game I am familiar with? I don't know whether that person has actually had success in the pros or not.
Never played an NFL game. Broke that record. He was an All-Ohio Valley Conference pick in 97, played at Eastern Kentucky, and then never played an NFL game despite doing that 51 times.
Pretty impressive to me. Whatever. Who cares, NFL?
It is actually. You know what? I'm with Zaslow on this. There's some guy wandering around the earth telling people, and nobody believes him. Would you believe I never played football, but I did more bench presses with 225 while in a football setting than anyone has ever done, including Larry Allen, that guy that gasbag Le Batard won't shut up about. I did it 8 times more than he did, and I never played a down in football.
Horrible at the other drills.
Right? I think that person actually tells people at the bar now. I think we should, A, try and get a hold of that person. And B, I think that guy, the way that he retells the story now in old age, because it was in 99, is like, yeah, once I did that, I didn't have any need to prove I was stronger than any of them. So I just quit football altogether.
Ran a 9.440.
He must have really been terrible at the other drills, huh? You would think somebody would take a chance on the guy who can bench press 225 51 times.
Probably bomb the interviews.
Couldn't have been good at the cone drill.
What have you guys noticed recently when purchasing things? You've heard me complain about, I have a new complaint, but you've heard me complain about the way that coffee prices are going up. Get ready for gas to go up if it hasn't already when it gets to $100 a barrel. But a cup of beans right now, I just paid $9 for a cup of coffee and it wasn't the most offensive purchase that was made by me in the airport. What is the most you guys think a blow pop costs now? I had not bought a blow pop in I don't know how many years.
Singular
one
blow pop.
One blow pop. And I'm not saying that this is what they cost all over. I know that the airport goes, with game show prices on stuff. So I know that this isn't normal pricing. But still, I was alarmed when I put a blow pop on the counter and then put $1 behind it, thinking that
you silly man.
No, that's not silly. Come on, that's not silly. That's not silly. Come on.
What a strange
whole dollar.
Look. If that person knows sports at all, what a strange interaction the person on the receiving end just had. That
keep the change.
Hey, you guys remember the guy from Highly Questionable? He came to my little kiosk. He put a single blow pop on the cashier table and slid $1 behind it and looked at me like I was crazy.
He hasn't been out the house in 50 years.
Again, though, I want to ask the question: are you guys? Nobody here is surprised that a blow pop is over $1.
Back in the day, it was a quarter. I would have guessed $1. Like that when you said to guess, I was going to say $1.
I didn't even get halfway there.
Is $2.50 a bad guess? That's
$3 easy.
It wasn't $3.
$2.75.
It was $2.29.
But why are you? I don't think we're asking the most obvious question. Is you're at the airport, you're going for a snack.
It's a great snack. I'm with Dan.
And
on
a
this.
blow pop.
It's not. Snack. It's not
a grown man at the airport with a sucker.
And I think the airport shops know that they can jack up the prices because where else are you going to go?
Yeah. Also, did you get a banana?
You a biter or low and slow?
I am a biter. And to Trista's question, which is a good one, a real need to get airport breath out of my mouth and didn't want to buy an entire pack of gum. So instead of buying an entire pack of gum, I just wanted to get out. You guys know what I'm talking about?
No, we don't. Put it on the phone. Do you know what airport breath
sounds
is?
like you might have sleep apnea.
It's a 6-hour flight, and you're
no gum, just blow pop.
Well, it is
mouth
gum.
breathing.
No, what do you mean? No
yeah,
gum?
there is gum at the center of it, but like I wouldn't go to a blow pop to make my breath smell better.
I'm gonna get that taste, that airport breath out of
the airport.
my mouth.
Yeah, that is a result of the airport taste. Yes, clearly
tequila taste.
Yes.
Put it.
Is
on
that what airport? That's usually what airport breath is, brother.
I was like, what are we doing here? Airport breath.
It sounds like 6 of the lounge.
I think people know what I'm saying when I say you've taken a 6-hour flight. Do you have airport breath? I think people know absolutely what I'm saying. I also think I'm being quite reasonable when I say I didn't want to buy a whole bunch of gum. I wanted a single piece of gum, and you can't buy a single piece of gum. And
how
because
presumptive, $1 with that blow.
Loosen the purse strings, bro.
Do you guys have something like this recently? Everyone's complaining about how much.
Yeah, despite having a fixed interest rate, my mortgage has gone up $600 over the last few months, and they don't tell me. I have to figure it out for myself. I'm like, well, maybe it'll go down since it went up. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. Who do I call? Because the second I get a mortgage, it changes. Like you immediately get a letter in the mail saying, hey, the person that you signed up your mortgage through, they don't have it anymore. They immediately sold it.
They love selling that.
Then you get another letter saying, guess what? Hope you didn't get used to them because they sold it. And then, 4 months later, your mortgage rate goes up. You don't know who to talk to. This is insane. It went up $600 in the last few months.
I'm not going to blame you for playing my invented game incorrectly, but when I went blow pop, I wasn't expecting you to go mortgage.
I got one of those good ones. I got one of those like right at the time that you should. I'm telling you, we got less than 3% interest on this bad boy.
You got that good rate?
I got one of those COVID rates.
Pre-pandemic.
Yeah. So imagine all the leftover income that I could have spent on blow pops over the last few months. And then I look at this statement, I'm like, there was something wrong with the last one. But you know what? I got enough problems. We'll give them a month. It went up another couple hundred.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Is $2.29 too much for a blow pop? And speaking of finances that I don't understand, there are a couple of things happening in the business of college sports that I don't understand. I don't understand Cincinnati, the university, suing quarterback Brendan Sorby for $1 million because they want $1 million for Texas Tech stealing its quarterback. And I don't understand how it is that Mike's guy, D-Money from Kane Insight, keeps putting out that the FSU program is $437 million in debt. The FSU athletic program, I don't even understand how you get to $437 million in debt and are allowed to keep functioning.
A lot of bad buyouts and no on-field success, no college football playoffs, and they've spent a ton of money on lawyers to thankfully they were the ones that did that because Miami ended up reaping all the benefits from FSU actually being the ones to sell. But this happens. Maryland and Rutgers have also lost a lot of money. There was a story that said Penn State, who's actually had some success in the college football playoff, they're losing money over there. Two quick things. There's an S in Kane's Insight and an S in Sorsby.
Did I not say Kane's Insight? I said
You said Kane Insight, which is at my other website that is totally dedicated to The Undertaker's brother, the Big Red Machine.
How does a program exist at $437 million in debt? How do you get out from under? How do you compete in big-time college football against programs that are making money when you're $437 million in debt and you can't get rid of your coach because you can't afford the buyout?
Right. So what happens is they're going to spend another year knowing that it's a nowhere year, but that saves them on the buyout. That's the reality of their situation. They're going to have to get lucky on a coach that is known to develop talent. They haven't really taken that path right now. They're probably going to turn to private equity to get them out of it, but we don't know the rules there yet. I know that they've been talking plenty, but Elliott has said he's a part of a private equity group that is trying to help FSU's financial situation. Ultimately, where this all goes is some kind of uniform Super League alignment from the top 50-some-odd schools there, and football is siloed off on its own. And you'll have owners, you'll have private equity firms, and they'll be treated like actual professional franchises.
But how are you going to define what the top 50 programs are? Can one of them be $437 million in debt?
They're going to have to dig themselves out of that debt, but I do think that, look, it's all – now we're talking pro franchises. In the world of college football, Florida State has immense value as a franchise, as a brand, and it's probably a worthy investment and a decent – pay cheaper type of opportunity for someone that is looking to invest in private equity. Just there's a lot that needs to get worked out. That's why the president understands that and is at this point conveniently reaching for sports to have some sort of normal conversation, which he and his brand so desperately need. This thing's going to need to be collectively bargained, and it's going to take time, and no one has the balls on either end because they're not wealthy enough on either end to say, let's stop sports for a minute. They're too popular, and the money and the revenue is coming in, and these TV deals exist, and they can't turn off the spout. So they have to build a plane in the sky, and it's got to look messy, and it's got to look like Brendan Sorsby getting sued for $1 million because they just saw Duke get some sort of buyout. Basically, is what can we lose here? Maybe a couple $10,000 on a lawyer's bill. Like Texas Tech has money to make me go away and shut me up, and that's all that's happening.
Well,
here.
but when you say Texas Tech, you see that Texas Tech basketball is also really good. Texas Tech has now bought its way into the game, and when you say top 50 schools at football, is Cincinnati one of them? Because Texas Tech just stole Cincinnati's quarterback, and Cincinnati wants $1 million in that exchange for finder's fee, whatever it is. They want $1 million back because you stole our quarterback. Is Texas Tech now? Texas Tech has to be considered a major player. But Texas Tech. In my lifetime, they beat Texas once with Crabtree as the quarterback and have not mattered at sports the rest of the time. It's tumbleweed U. Texas Tech has not been one of the major programs in my lifetime. They exist to be like the 7th best program in the state of Texas as fodder for the rest of the conference and the good schools. Now Texas Tech is top 50. Is Cincinnati?
I don't know if Cincinnati makes it to whatever Super League. Cincinnati made it to, I think, the 4-team playoff pretty recently against Alabama. They've been a decent football program, more known for basketball in their heyday. Texas Tech's basketball team has been good along the way. A couple of times, certainly in my lifetime, that they've been relevant.
Not this good.
Well,
not top 10 good.
Didn't they make it to? They
went to a Final Four in San Antonio.
Yeah, they had a good basketball team with some good players.
Maybe it was
there.
Minnesota.
But Texas Tech is just knowing what the NIL marketplace is. Texas Tech is really, really a titan when it comes to talent acquisition, spending money. They have a very large affluent base that makes no bones about what they want. They're in a conference that allows for a pretty easy path, as we saw. They made it to the college football playoff with relative ease and were given even a bye this year. So Texas Tech, they're going to be around for a long time in this game. I don't know how it all works with private equity, and you would assume there's some kind of cap, which may make Lubbock less appealing because right now they're not really dealing with that.
The Lubbock, Texas is nowhere land, right? The idea that exists as a place that is now buying premium college football and basketball talent and that they've gotten into the game is something that is a little bit it's unbelievable to watch them climb to the top with dollars because you can buy yourself into this game.
Yeah, for older people like us too, but you have to keep in mind, Patrick Mahomes is a huge brand, and he is very much associated with that school. It has his own brand that is designing uniforms there. If you're an impressionable high school kid looking where to take your talents, a school that Patrick Mahomes went to that's always putting up points and is very recently mattering in college basketball and mattering in college football, that seems like a lovely place for me to take my talents
it's
to.
happening. What's one of the interesting things to see happening in the business of college sports is these athletes who are no longer paying to put their name on the weight room or something. They're doing what Andrew Luck is doing, which is saying, well, I'll go get the donors because I'm Andrew Luck. And if you give me the rights to run the entire program, I will get people who have money to spend money on the program because I'm Andrew Luck. So they're getting involved in a way that gives when you see the athletes with money get into the competitive games where athletes are competing against each other with money, I don't know what Gilbert Arenas is doing right now, but the problem Gilbert Arenas had recently is that he's got too many guys in his neighborhood showing up with cars on his lawn, and the neighbors are complaining, so he can't do a full studio that has Skip Bayless in his house, even though he's got enough money to compete in the media game. He's got too many people on his lawn because he's trying to run a full media empire, and on Tuesdays when he's doing basketball and football shows, there are too many black people in the white people neighborhood, and what's happening is they're like, stop, we got too many cars in the driveway here. Gilbert Arenas can't run a media center out of what is a legitimate studio. He's got a legitimate studio.
Juju, it's like J. Cole. I think the neighbors think I'm selling dope.
This is exactly like that. Back to you, Zaz.
Yo, that's my gimmick. Wait, what? No, that's not my gimmick.
No, I was feeding him. I was feeding him a line.
No, Greg Cody.
No, I I wanted Zaz to say, about that too many black people.
And he wouldn't do it?
He wouldn't. But no, he said, yo, that's my gimmick, not realizing that I crouched down like in a whisper because I didn't even want the internet.
Not my gimmick.
I mean, it's red alert. Dan said crackers earlier.
Hold on, Sazlo. What just happened is did you get scared?
Greg codied.
Did you get scared? Because why? What were you saying? That's my gimmick too.
I was feeding him. You know about that? You know about that? Too many black people, Dan. It would have
Thought
been
it was
funny.
on air for a second.
First part was my gimmick. The second part, not my gimmick.
Well, none of it was. We were working in the shadows, pal. Like no one was really alerted to what we were doing, workshopping your gimmick. I respected the fact that it was your gimmick because I was trying to feed you the line. So you could do your gimmick.
Back to the shadows.
No, but you said that on the air.
No, I said it in your
said
headphones, which is something that you're
heads.
just grasping right now, even though it was very clear to everybody else.
You know what? I'm sorry to do this to you, Zaslow, but you're going to have to get out of here.
I don't think I've ever made that mistake before.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes, murdering the show with their bare hands in a dismemberment kit in cold blood.
Damn. Me?
Is Gilbert Arenas back to doing his show, or has he not been able to get it back? Like Gilbert Arenas got into the game aggressively, big. He gave up part of the ownership of his media thing and started his own thing, as many people are doing in the media space.
But there's too many cars at his house.
Too many
when he tries to have Skip Bayless on, and this is why Texas Tech is back.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Boom.
But
Andrew Luck has something to do with it too.
And speaking of
and McAfee.
Of money issues, as we were, I wanted to get into what it is that has happened to both boxing and Floyd Mayweather, because I'm assuming that most people who are watching Floyd Mayweather, one of the few names in boxing that still somehow matters because there are very few of them, comes out of retirement at 49 years old. We're assuming, right? Everyone's assuming he needs money, right? Nobody goes back into the game of possibly being hit and embarrassed in front of people simply because they love boxing a great deal at the age of 49.
He's probably incredibly confused why someone keeps selling his mortgages. He probably has a dozen homes and 3 dozen different people holding his mortgages lately. That's why he's fighting.
It's the price of blow pops that has brought him back into
I'm sure all of it.
Fighting.
And he doesn't look, from where I was sitting over the last 20 years, didn't seem like he was like super fiscally responsible. This is the least surprising thing ever.
Well, you say it's the least surprising thing ever, but can you, Jeremy, just look up for me, okay, the amount of earnings that we're talking about here? Because while, athletic money being blown is a bit of a cliche, there are very few athletes ever who have made the kind of money that Floyd Mayweather has made. And because he's the best in the history of pay-per-view at making sure that the money ends up in his pocket. He is or has been a businessman as an athlete that almost doesn't have a peer because he owns all his own stuff as an independent. Your spending has to be so fiscally irresponsible to lose the amount of money that Floyd Mayweather has lost that it is almost beyond anything that is reason. It's not merely fiscal insanity. It's something that doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. And another sign of him maybe in financial trouble is, as of February 2026, Floyd Mayweather has initiated a massive $340 million lawsuit against Showtime Networks and former executive Steven Espinoza. So he's trying to get some bread right now.
The estimate is that he made over $1.2 billion over the course of his career in just earnings from fights.
Yeah. I think a question, though, that you should also ask outside of, like, how much has he made is how much has he spent, Because I would say he's fully capable of spending close to $1 billion in the last 25 years.
You say that, but I not to turn into the movie Brewster's Millions from the 1980s. It's hard to spend that much. It really is hard to spend that much money and end up in a situation where you have to fight at 49 because you're so used to a lifestyle that brings in giant amounts of money, that the only way for you to make a giant amount of money is to do what he's presently doing, which is something that somehow will make money because people will still want to watch if Floyd Mayweather can lose, because that's where he made his $1.2 billion. He made it in us watching to see if he'd lose.
I don't even think, like, it's just celebrity boxing is so popular because we are obsessed with celebrity culture, and this is the rare reality show in which we can see people fight, you know? Like, oh, wouldn't it be awesome if this celebrity got in a fight with this celebrity? Look at the views that Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise AI video did just because, wow, what an awesome fight between two super famous people.
Celebrity deathmatch.
Yeah, Mayweather doing the exhibition fight with Tyson, who, you know, literally almost died the last time he tried doing this in his training against another celebrity, and doing it against Pacquiao, who, you know, them two together, that has cachet. That certainly has a big value, and I think people will watch it well into their 60s if they decide to keep doing it.
Well, but the thing that I'm pointing out, though, is that at 49, he would have no other way of making this amount of money in one place, because it is an enormous amount of money that he will make, though it pales in comparison to the previous amounts that he's made. But I remember telling you guys here when I saw it on South Beach at the height of his earning, right? He and his crew walk into a place that's crowded. It's by the pool. It's a pool party. And one of the guys just takes out of the duffel bag $10,000 in cash to get it for a handful of beach chairs by a pool. And I remember saying at the time, and I felt judgmental saying it, but I'm like, that's exactly how you go broke, no matter how much money it is that you've made. But Jeremy, while you're looking up $1.2 billion, I'd love to know any athletes ever who have made that amount of money, because the boxing game is so corrupt, right? That Don King ran the boxing game, and one of the ways that he ran it is he just puts the suitcase with $1 million cash in front of Muhammad Ali. He just puts it in front of Muhammad Ali and gets him to sign it over for the fight in Zaire that's going to make him a lot more money than it ends up making Muhammad Ali. When you hear that that Floyd Mayweather is going after Showtime, and because money in these contracts doesn't end up going straight to him, even though he thinks that it does, $1.2 billion still represents more than Tom Brady is going to be making from all of his ventures, even with a $375 million contract for the last 10 years. Like, $1.2 billion as an athlete is such a staggering amount of money to blow that I'm going to guess that you're not going to find a whole lot of athletes ever who have made that kind of money.
Well, and that was just career earnings based off of fights. Like, that had nothing to do with endorsements. So when you look at endorsements and things like that, you had Cristiano Ronaldo, you had some of these tennis players, but like Juan Soto right now signed a $700 million contract. Shohei Ohtani, $700 million contracts. Those are sort of the largest that you would find just in terms of the on-field product. But when you add endorsements, Ohtani's right up there near the top as well, also only making $2 million for the salary right now.
And he could be super fiscally responsible and just see a huge pile of $100 million lying around and say, well, this is pretty easy. Tyson almost died the last time he tried doing this against a YouTuber. I think I can hold my own there for a little bit, and I'm not too threatened against Manny Pacquiao. It's not like his life is in danger taking to the ring here. It's one of the most defensive fighters of all time, going against guys that are well past their prime for an easy few mil. I get it. He's probably looking at this saying, like, this makes the most sense.
Right. He also spent heavily on luxury goods, including a $402 million 60-building acquisition in New York, on top of just carrying around $80,000 in Louis V backpacks, in which he was caught spending $500,000 in Louis V in one sitting. Back to you, Dano.
The real estate ventures, I've heard him brag about the real estate ventures. You mentioned $400 million. It's supposed to be an investment. That's not supposed to be money lost. That's supposed to be something that accrues. That's a place to put your money so that you continue to make money with your money. It is. I'm not kidding you when I say it's really hard to blow $1.2 billion. And when you get to 49 and have to do this, what do you imagine 60 is going to look like for Floyd if he cannot get his spending in order because he's gotten used to a lifestyle that's asinine?
I don't know if it is that hard to spend as much money as he spent, given all of the handlers that always take percentages of entertainers' gross figures. You've got publicists, you've got managers, you've got promoters. They all want a percentage, and then you have a fiscally irresponsible life, and all of a sudden you're broke. So I think it's all of the people that suck at the teat of an entertainer, an athlete, etc., that makes it really easy to blow through that, plus taxes.
Mm-hmm. And who knows what his tax situation is. That's an excellent point by Trissa, where the internet gathers he's generated $1.3 billion. He's probably looking at taxes, handlers, managers, fight promotion fees, saying I've actually cleared like $450 million, which is a lot more plausible for him to actually spend.
There are 11 athletes, according to Sportico, that have ever made over $1 billion, and this is including endorsements. But the bottom two on that list are Phil Mickelson and Floyd Mayweather. Now, Phil Mickelson, as well, someone notoriously not exactly great with his money.
Well, but in those instances, we were what's been reported is that he was also gambling enormous amounts of money, which is different. When you guys are saying it's easy to spend $1.2 billion, I'm again going to tell you that it's not quite as easy as you. We are talking about the most fiscally irresponsible athlete there has ever been. Ever, if he can blow this amount of money. There's never been anything close to this kind of fiscal irresponsibility in the history of sports, because I'm guessing all of the other people you're going to mention there, Jeremy, aren't having any issues. They may have tax problems. They don't have to come out of retirement at 49 for another big payday because they've gone through all of that money.
I think Mickelson did.
It could be a coincidence, but Floyd Mayweather is smack in the middle of Neymar and Phil Mickelson. Yep. Those three guys gamble a lot. They wager a ton. There's a famous internet video of Neymar on a poker app while his daughter's being sung a happy birthday.
You can do it gambling. You can lose at gambling.